Adrammelech. Who is Adrammelech? Is he a demon? Is he a god? Or is he something different? Let's talk about him. Let's get into it. If you're new, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. I'm Sarah, that divination witch. This channel is a safe space and witchy community. It just means you can share opinions, you can have differences of opinions, but we don't tolerate crap, okay? So if you want to join, hit subscribe, it's free. And if you would like to support me, help me continue to make videos, all of my links are in the description. I'd be grateful if you could take a look. I offer readings, I've got Patreon, we're going through a path working on there, we've got a community, I teach things, I've got all sorts happening. So yeah, thank you. So I have started a series where I am talking mainly about demons and spirits, from starting with the Ars Goetia, but other things as well, and talking about their origins, where they come from, etc. Because it's not as simple as angel versus demon, it's not as simple as one's good, one's evil. It's more complicated than that. If you're interested in more, go check out the playlist on the channel, what I've got so far. But Adrammelech. So, Adrammelech is also known as Adrammelech, and he is an earl within the Ars Goetia. He's number 65 out of 72 within that grimoire, and he commands 30 legions of demons. Within the Ars Goetia, it is said that he teaches geometry, astronomy, and mathematics. But that is just one little thing about him. So, if you don't know, the Ars Goetia is a grimoire that was written in the 17th century or so. We don't know precisely the author, but it was said to be inspired by the tales of King Solomon. King Solomon being the king in the biblical literature that could command and trap and summon spirits at his will by the power of God. But it was not canonical. The story was not canonical, and the grimoire is certainly not canonical. The grimoire is a product of its age, and a lot of the spirits within the grimoire are older deities or spirits that were then demonized because it was a product of its time. So the Ars Goetia does seem to be one of the most popular grimoires within modern demonology. A lot of people do take inspiration from it and work with the spirits from it. But not everyone seems to know the origins of the spirits. So, Adrammelech was a deity before he was ever known as a demon. He was from the Levante region. He was an ancient Semitic god from Assyria and from a place called Sepharvaim. It was basically a city in the north region of Babylon. He was worshipped alongside another deity called Adrammelech. Now, that's a lot to take in. I'm no historian, but this is from my research. All you have to do is Google Adrammelech and you'll find this basic information so far. So Adrammelech was an ancient Semitic god, and that Sephar, I cannot pronounce things very good, I'm so sorry, Sepharvaim, that place was a particular region and city within Babylon. Now, what I know of the different deities from that area of the world, it's very complex to me because, like I say, I'm no historian. But I have had my interactions with Mesopotamian, Akkadian and Sumerian pantheon as well. Depending on the city you would have tutelary deities, which is like your patron deity. And that's not just a Middle East or Levant region thing. I mean, ancient Greeks did it, most famously Athens, Athena. So depending on where you were from would be like your main deities. So Adrammelech was one of two main deities in a particular region and city in Babylon. Now, the deity he was worshipped alongside is said to be also a man, a lunar deity that is linked with the god Anu. Anu is a sky god from Mesopotamia, if you don't know. He is the father of the Anunnaki. So think of Inanna, Enlil, Enki, Ereshkigal, all of those. Anu is their dad. And he is a stereotypical, no offence to anyone, sky god. Now Adrammelech is also a king and a sky god too. I don't know from my sources, from what I managed to look up, I don't know if they were ever just merged together, but it does seem that one had a more lunar energy side and one was more solar, because Adrammelech is linked with Baal. Now Baal, he is complex too, because Baal, it could be known as a god, but it could also be known as a title. And Baal had many epithets. Baal Hadid, there are other ones. Baal Hadid is the most famous one, you could argue. If you look up the Baal cycle, he is the god in that. Baal is also a sky god though, a ruler god, a king, just like Adrammelech. And so it's said sometimes that he is an epithet of Baal. Now, in my personal experience, when I've experienced Baal, he does seem to be quite fiery, quite a solar deity in that regard. So it would make sense, at least to me, to balance it out. That one's more lunar, softer energy, nighttime energy, and one is of the daytime. That's just me making sense of that. In the Book of Kings, Christianity we're talking, it is said that that region, the city I mentioned, I'll give it another go pronouncing it, Sepharvaim, I might be getting better at pronouncing these things. It said, trigger warning, that let's say miners were unalived as a sacrifice in fire, which is something that is famously said about Baal as well. Baal is a Canaanite deity, by the way, also Yahweh's, which is the Jewish and then the Christian god, and yep. Now, this is just something I have thought long and hard about, because that's not a nice thing. However, across different cultures in the ancient world, that sort of thing did happen, not just to minors, but adults, grown adults. You know, that happened. It was a product of its time. It's not to excuse it that that's a good thing. Absolutely not. It's not. And do I for 1 second believe any God wants that? No. Because they are there to help us, and it's kind of a waste. It's a waste of potential. It's a waste of life. That's the way I see it. But can't deny that it was a thing in history. However, some sources that I have seen in the past say that the whole fire thing may not have been actually an unaliving, especially when it comes to minors, because just like how you have baptisms, christenings, that kind of thing, coming of age things within mainstream religions now, that was said to be a purification ritual, that they weren't just shoved in the fire and left there. They were passed through flame as purification. There is a saying, baptism of fire, old-fashioned term, but it's something even I say, and I believe that is where it derives from, actually. So was it actually that or not? I mean, sources do say it was that, but that is a Christianized source, and they are going to demonize that, aren't they? They're going to say that any other gods are heathens, and that's something else that the Talmud said as well. When it came to Adrammelech and his appearance, they called him an ass or a donkey, and said that the heathens were worshipping donkeys. And like, it was to make fun, wasn't it? It was to make fun, essentially, of a pagan god. Now, Adrammelech as well is also mentioned in Paradise Lost, which I've got right at the top of this shelf somewhere. Now, Paradise Lost, we get a lot of modern demonology tropes from that text. Paradise Lost is a set of prose, a set of poems by John Milton, and it is classical literature. It's a poem, a series of poems that were all about a descent into hell. You see, that's something I'll talk about later on the channel. A descent into hell, it's a religious rite. It is, the Greeks would call it katabasis. It is like a hero's journey. You know, if you think of like some ancient Greek myths like Orpheus and Eurydice, for example. Orpheus journeys to the underworld to go rescue his lover, Eurydice. It's a thing, it's a trope, it's a literary trope. So Paradise Lost and all the descriptions of different levels of hell, pandemonium, all this jazz, the different fallen angels. A lot of it we've now took as canon in modern demonology practices. And so when it comes to Adrammelech, he's just one of those figures. He is said to be a fallen angel within that, alongside Asmodeus, actually, which today, at time of recording, I spoke with Adrammelech for somebody else. I've got my own experience with him, very brief experience, but I'll touch on that in a bit. But he came through in a deity confirmation for someone, and actually Asmodeus was there too, and I didn't know why, and then it sparked me to research myself, and then I'm like, oh, that might be why, maybe they're friendly. I mean, you know, I don't know. But that's what happened. And to be honest, after that, Adrammelech requested, because this has been in the back of my mind for a long time, it's not just him. To be honest, in my personal practice, I have allowed Lucifer to take the reins a little bit, because, yeah, I kind of am a grey area into the left-hand path myself, and he wants me to do this. Believe that if you want or not, I don't care, but that's what I'm led to anyways. That's a side note. So he is known as a fallen angel in that regard. Now, within Clipothic literature, I always recommend Thomas Carlson's book. Out of all the books on the Cliphoth, it's the least edgy and it's the most useful. And I don't know Thomas, obviously never talked to him in my life, but out of a lot of occult authors that I've had dealings with, I would trust him more than others, definitely. But I'm very wary, that's just my experience, okay? But he is in the sphere of Samael. Now, on my own Clipothic journey, which I've started sharing for members and patrons, just because I don't like it being public at the moment, maybe one day, but there's too much ridicule and nastiness in the community, I'll be honest, and I've been at the receiving end of that a few times, of different people, not just one, and I don't need it. So if you want to listen, by all means, it's on members and Patreon. I am sharing it for those people who actually care enough to subscribe in that way, okay? But it's not for everyone's ears. But when I'll share a snippet, when I was entering into Samael, into the sphere, he greeted me at the entrance, and it was a tough entrance. When I got through the tunnel, now, because it's Samael's realm, Samael is an angel. He is, some people say, the flip side of Lucifer, you know, the one and the same. He's the evening star as well, which is another side to Venus. Samael's the poison of God, and this is not a Samael video, by the way, but it was a very freaking difficult Cleaver sphere to be in, because I was purging poison, I was purging things, limiting beliefs, things that were damaging me, you know. But Adrammelech was very friendly. He welcomed me in. He saw that I was okay. And yes, I did have an experience with him. I didn't have experiences with everyone that you're supposed to in each sphere, but I did with him. And when he appeared to me, visually in my mind's eye. By the way, when I say I see them, I don't mean they're literally like standing in front of me. This is through psychic abilities. Even though he's not from that area of the world, I could only describe, he reminded me of a very regal, but like an Aztec king in a way, but I know he wasn't Aztec, obviously. And I say that because he had like it's not like a bottom set of clothing on, let's say it like that. Not shorts, but a wrap. I was going to say a loincloth, but it's absolutely not a loincloth. It's something more regal and elegant than that. And it was like, from what I remember, like a reddish colour. And then he had no top on. However, he had so many chains of gold and jewellery that he didn't need a top. It was like so many, so ornate. And he had armbands on, ornate, going up his arms. He had black hair that was cut shortish, a crown, golden crown, and then peacock feathers that stuck out behind it. That's how he presented to me, and he just carried himself like a king would, and he was just very welcoming and made sure I was okay and helped me in that first little section, and then he went after that. You know, it was like, welcome, hope you're all right, enjoy, bye. Enjoy, I'd say, with a pinch of salt, because it was not enjoyable. It was a difficult, I think, personally, that was my most difficult sphere. Anyways, so that's when I've met him. Apart from other people like I have today, I meet, because I'm so fortunate to do this as a job, I get to meet spirits from all over different cultures, and I get to learn about these things. And it's not for me personally, it's because they're there for other people. But if I can give something back, because, you know, they're coming through for people, they don't have to talk with me, but they do. So this is my way of giving back to him. He wanted me to talk about him. So that's who Adrammelech is, my experience with him. Now, with any deity, light, dark, anything in between, look, show them respect. Even if you are not going to work with them, if you're just interacting with them, don't be rude. If they're not for you, just say no thanks, with, you know, in a polite manner, and move along, okay? If you are wanting to connect with any deity, I have many videos on the channel already about it. Yes, there are certain invocations, certain rituals you can follow for Adrammelech. And I'm sure if you do your research and follow what you're drawn to, you can do that if you want. He does have a seal from the Goetia. He'll probably have many other sigils. Be wary of other people's sigils, though, if they've made it up. Make sure it's genuine, all right? That's my advice. But light a candle and go from there. Give an offering. Generally speaking, they like offerings of fruits, deities like fruits, wine, all sorts of different things. I can't think off the top of my head, but this day and age, it's whatever you can spare. But at least light them a candle and just show respect and go from there. Follow your intuition. Make sure it's right for you as well. Don't go, especially with demons, or so-called demons, but don't go into it thinking that, oh, you're something, you know. This is where it gets into dangerous territory sort of thing. If you are trying to control them in the way the Goetia talks, like Solomon did. From my experience, I don't take kindly to that, though there's some people that do that. That's on you. But put the shoe on the other foot. If you were a spirit and suddenly someone came along going, I command you, do this for me, you'd be like, fuck right off. You wouldn't. So I just say, show them respect and build up that mutual respect and a bond, you know. Simples in that way. But I've got a million videos on that stuff, so go look on the channel if you want to learn more, all right? But that was Adrammelech. Thank you, Adrammelech, for coming through today for somebody at time of recording, and for giving me the kick up the bum to start this series. Thank you. And yeah, if you want to learn more, check out the channel, hit subscribe, hit like, all that jazz. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay safe, stay witchy. Bye.